following program is a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market updates and trading strategies. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the option block. With your host, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com and co-hosts Mike Tusaw from KnowYourOptionsInc.com and Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Options Express. Don't spend time worrying about your broker. At Options Express, security, stability, and account protection are the most important responsibilities to our customers. Secure account access, enhanced financial protection, entrusted with over $7 billion in customer assets, established financial stability. Options Express lets you trade with confidence. Stocks, options, and futures, all in one account. Trade with a specialist. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio to open your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
Welcome back to the Option Block, and I hope all of our listeners out there are having a profitable trading week so far. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as many of the programs here on the old Options Insider Radio Network, and I am joined on this glorious bullish day by several of our stalwarts here on the Option Block All-Star panel, kicking things off with the man from the mountains, beaming in all the way from beautiful St. Charles, Illinois, good old Mike Tusaw from Know Your Options Inc. Uncle Mike, how are you doing this fine Thursday afternoon?
Doing great. We're all geared up for the big Scarecrow Fest this weekend in St. Charles. Exciting times here in the suburbs.
Yeah, Uncle Mike, so you're hitting the Scarecrow Festival. We did the old pumpkin patch last weekend, and in fact, we may be doing a different one this weekend, so double pumpkin duty in the old Longo household these past few weeks.
It's an exciting time of year, the pumpkin time. You know what we ought to do? Local businesses around here get a scarecrow, and it's in a scarecrow competition, so we need to have an option block scarecrow next year, I think.
And since you're out there in the mountains of St. Charles, if you see the scarecrow and you wrestle it to the ground and hog tie it with one hand, do you get some extra prize from the local merchant?
You've really never been to St. Charles, have you?
I picture this booming Western-style town. Everyone's wearing boots and cowboy hats and 6 shooters at the ready. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, maybe around the Tusaw house, but not the rest of the town.
All right, and that frenzied typing means we have been joined by none other than the Seabass, a.k.a. Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. Mr. Seabass,
hey.
What frenzied emails are you sending out this fine Thursday afternoon?
You know what? I've been watching the market. It's rallied today.
What is this market that you speak of?
This market, it rallied. It's this thing that seems to only go down, except for today, and then that's it. No, you know, we've had my firm just hired somebody that we're going to officially announce next week. You know, so we've been getting him ready. It's been a lot of fun.
I like it. You're getting official. It's not just you in an office with a slinky anymore. There's going to be two of you.
It's true.
You're getting big time, sir. I'm so proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
And also, last but certainly not least, the man holding down the Options Express hot seat, none other than Big Tim Navabi from the old Options Express trading desk. Mr. Tinav, welcome back to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. What's lighting up the tape there in OX land right now? A busy day?
No. We got real quiet sort of midday. I mean, it was just a couple reps sitting around twiddling their thumbs for a while. So it's good. I mean, I looked at the charts. Kind of seems that way with some volume, just lack of volume here. Maybe people are getting ready for tomorrow. I don't know.
All the OX customers are just degenerate bears, and so on these rally days, they don't know what to do, so they sit on their hands.
Yeah. But, you guys were talking about the pumpkin patch earlier. Any apple picking? Did you guys go apple picking yet or not yet?
Haven't gone that far yet.
I'm doing that Monday.
That activity's dead.
I'm going to a cider mill on Monday.
Ooh.
So I'm excited.
Don't drop the little man in the mill.
So, yeah, I got a big week ahead of me. I've got the FIA in town next week. I got my anniversary on on Tuesday, excuse me. Happy anniversary, honey.
Oh, so you'll be taping our live show and your anniversary. I hope your wife is okay with that.
Yeah, no, I took Monday off so we could hang out. So.
And speaking of the live show, I should get that plug in before we start the show even, that listeners should swing by the old Futures Industry Expo at the Hilton in South Michigan Avenue, I'm sorry. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be doing our live shows from there. Tuesday at 4 p.m., we will be doing this program, The Option Block, and it usually costs $50 to get down to the Expo Hall to see all the expo and exhibitor goodness there at the FIA show. But if you surf on over to the Options Insider, you'll find links for the free passes. Just search for free FIA in our search box, or you can even go to the old volex.us website, which is the volatility exchange and the sponsors of our Volatility Views show, and they also have a link up there at the top for free exhibit hall passes, so you can come in, get all the tchotchkes you could possibly dream of, and then this is a good tchotchke show. There's even a cigar rolling booth there somewhere, usually. At least the last few years there have been. You can't smoke them there, but you can get a nice cigar. I think someone was giving out mojitos last year. There's all kinds of weird tchotchkes down there.
You're giving away mojitos?
Yeah, mojito mix, I believe. And our show, at another plus, this show, The Option Block, will be taping during the Taste of Expo reception, so there will be free drinks and beverages, adult beverages, for everyone who comes by, so it could be a rowdy crowd. So by all means,
John Grigas is going to be a disaster.
Grigas, we'll have to pick him up off the floor. Luckily, you only have an hour. If it was 2 or 3 hours like last time, we'd have to carry him out of there.
We only get an hour this time, so we're actually going to have to be
on the mark. Yes.
The schedule.
Yeah, we'll have to plan what we actually say this time. But so listeners, by all means, check out the show next Tuesday, and also stay around for Vol Views and come on for Wednesday for the long and short of futures options. We'll be doing a lot of radio down there in Michigan Avenue in Chicago. And now let's roll right into the trading block.
The trading block.
And welcome to the Trading Block. This is, of course, the portion of the show where we discuss what's been trading, what's been moving the markets, what's been causing all the hubbub today. And as we alluded to earlier, it was another up day on the street. I shouldn't say another because they are becoming fewer and farther between. But today, the S&P rallied nearly 21 handles, closed at a good old 1164. The Dow closed up 183 to close at 11123. The NASDAQ up 46 to 25.06, and the good old VIX cash getting down into the mid-30s, down 1.54, about 4% on the day to 36.27. So the VIX cash starting to fall in line with some of those longer-term expectations people have been holding out for a while, that it would eventually get to the mid-30s and below. How it got there, what path it took, no one knew. What zigzaggy, strange roller coaster ride it would take to the mid-30s. We'll see if we can hold these levels or not. I guess not.
I was talking about this. I think we've raised the bar for contango, though. This time last month, I was mentioning how I thought the VIX needed to get to 30 for us to break 30 for us to get into it like a full contango. It now looks like that's like 35%.
I didn't realize there was a bar for contango. I thought once you're in contango, pretty much you're in. Now we have a higher bar.
Kind of the level where we would get to contango. We've been in this range for so long that people right now, in the very kind of near term, people assume we're going to hover to 40% as opposed to kind of lower than that. So what's happening is right now, the October futures are already trading at a premium to VIX cash. So is November. October and November are right on top of each other. The VIX cash drops another % or so. October's trading around 38. November is trading around 37. You'll see that October fall below the November, at least for the time being, and which will be a nice thing for all the VXX and XIV people. But I do think that we're seeing kind of a fundamental shift in VIX futures where they get into this kind of pull higher at a higher level than where they were only a month ago. All right. So what I mean by raising the bar on contango is that when the VIX gets to 30 when the VIX got to 30, that was about when people assumed that there was more risk of it going higher than risk of it going lower. And that's when futures enter contango. All right. VIX futures are in contango when the risks of VIX going higher are perceived to be greater than the risks of it going lower. So
naturally.
Right. Now, and in September, that level was 30. Well, it appears that level is now 35, where people think that the risks of VIX going higher are greater than the risks of it going lower. So it shows you there's been a fundamental, about 5% shift on where people expect volatility to be for the next month, or at least for the next month.
So the frame of reference has changed. Indeed, you might even say they've raised the bar.
Right, which is what I said.
If someone was to use that analogy.
Yeah, which is what I said in the first place. Notice a lot of my analogies involve bars.
Yes, it's a recurring theme with you.
Yeah. If I'm not drinking in them, I'm being threatened to be thrown behind them.
It has been interesting to watch that dance between the OCC and NOV futures and the VIX, because they're so uncertain on those 2 months and in that range that there's kind of been, you're right, that almost parity between those two for a little while now. I mean, before we had the near-term spike and then the inevitable sell-off a couple months ago priced into the futures, and then recently in the near term, it was pretty much a coin flip. No one really knew what the hell was going on, so they were just pricing in, I guess, good old Rocktober. And then maybe November keeping pace before towards the end of the year things finally quiet down. Who knows if the old brush fire that is Europe can finally sputter out? Maybe that could actually come to pass.
I think that sounds like people feel like they're starting to actually develop a coherent thought on what they want to do.
Yeah. Don't ask the people in Greece though; they're taken to the streets.
I just read what Mike Tusaw wrote, and I'm laughing.
But yes, so but if the Greeks can get their heads around it and not stampede in the streets against any more cuts, and maybe we can get some action out there. Of course, they're stampeding in the streets in the states here too. I was just down at the Board of Trade for some meetings last week, and all those protesters were out in force.
All 9 of the protesters.
There were more of them on last Friday. There were about, I'd say, 50 or so out front of the Board of Trade.
Oh wow, that's 50 protesters is national news. That's the hilarious thing. Is the Occupy Wall Street thing?
Oh, it's absurd.
Maybe like 1,000 people. That's tops.
I'm sure there's more in New York. This is like an offshoot here in Chicago.
No, the one in Chicago, yeah, there were 50 people. The one in New York, I don't think there's more than 1,000 people.
It's like any long-term protest. Once it starts going, they lose any cohesion. They have no idea what they're standing for any longer.
First off, none of them. If you ask them what they want fixed, they don't have an answer. There are people protesting that we should re-elect our president. Explain that one to me.
They should just feed them Goldman. They should just roll out some MDs from Goldman and say, here you go, hand them over to the crowd, appease them, a little bit of burning an effigy or so, and everyone's happy.
They're literally protesting, the sellout of corporate America. The street that they are protesting on has given more money to the Democratic Party than just about any block of people, and yet I bet you all of those people would vote for our president. And I'm not making a commentary on whether you should be a Democrat or not. I just think it's hilarious that they're protesting against who they vote for. It's that'd be like a Republican going up to a big oil company and protesting the big oil to reelect their Republican congressman.
I'm in agreement with you on this one, Mark, and I want to take that a step further. It's kind of like how the mafia or how the gangsters back in the 30s financed a lot of the prohibition campaigns. It's just
right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's
way to take it the Chicago way there, Mr. Tusa. I like it.
That's a perfect analogy. It's the hypocrisy. And then you ask them what exactly they want to fix, and they don't have an answer for you. What would you do? I don't know. Protesting for the sake of protesting is quite possibly the stupidest thing on the planet. you know, it's like people that protest against poverty. You ask them if they've ever worked in a soup kitchen, and 9 out of 10, the answer is no. You know, have you ever donated to a food pantry? 9 out of 10, no.
Those numbers may or may not be exaggerated. Those numbers do not reflect the viewpoints of the Options Insider.
Have I ever used hyperbole? 9 out of 10,
yes,
no.
Yes.
But you get my point. I mean, the ridiculous hypocrisy, it just blows me away. And by the way, college students walking out of their noon class, oh yeah, like college students need another excuse to ditch class.
Yeah, that says a lot about the movement right there.
I know. We're going to protest by ditching class. I did the same thing when I was in college. It was called college.
I didn't mean to touch such a raw nerve here,
yeah,
Mr.
I was
Sebastian.
protesting the fact there wasn't a beer in my mouth.
And that speaks volumes of the education of Mark Sebastian and why his analogies are so fraught with bar references. But the other big news of the day, aside from the raw nerve that is Mark Sebastian and protesters, of course, is the passing of Steve Jobs in Apple. And Mr. Tusaw, as the dyed-in-the-wool Apple bull here, were you a little bit surprised that, I mean, he's obviously moved on from the company already, but he was still chairman, he was still involved. Now this is the ultimate moving on of sorts, and the stock pretty much shrugs it off, down 0.2%. Did that surprise you?
Well, here's where I think the market reacted to it. If you watch the action of Apple a couple days ago on Tuesday, I think the market reacted to him not being, yeah, they announced that they were going to reduce the price of their latest gadget. Why is it not coming to my head? Of their
iPhone
the 4S.
Yeah, they announced they were going to reduce the price. And, a lot of people think that that's what drove it down it was in the 350s for a little while and then came back. And this is just a theory of mine. What I think may have been the case of what was really driving it down is the fact that Steve Jobs wasn't on stage.
Yeah,
there was a lot of hubbub about that. People was like, why isn't he on stage? And the obvious reason was that the guy was dying in a hospital, for God's sakes. And
so maybe that was the market because the market oftentimes reacts ahead of news that actually happens. Because I remember watching that, I'm like, that really doesn't seem like that should be driving this price down that much.
When he announced he was retiring, he knew he was dying.
That seems like, I think that's probably the only way you can really get him away from that gig again would be something serious like that. It's kind of a poignancy to that too, to think that he died the day after the final product that he worked on was announced and released. It makes you wonder if he was cognizant at the end to watch that announcement and then that was it. But it is kind of interesting to think how that would work.
And the other thing I'm thinking with Steve Jobs, I think, obviously he knew that he was going to die for a while, just by the way the actions that have come about. I think that a lot of his ideas are actually still with Apple now. What I mean by that is that I think he has a lot of ideas that are going to continue to carry on, and his death has kind of made me become a little bit more of an Apple bull again, just because of the fact that I think a lot of his ideas are going to carry on for another year or two. After that, well, then it might be a different story, but I think that the spirit of Jobs, so to speak, is going to carry that company I think he's going to help raise the company's stock even from the grave.
Apparently you're not alone in that assessment, because the stock barely essentially shrugged off this news that the iconic founder of this company will never again return to it, and doesn't even take a 5 or 10 handle hit. It's pretty much a blip, not even a point. So yeah.
Well, and the thing you've got to remember is I don't think he was really running the day-to-day operations for the last 6 months.
Oh, he hasn't been for a long time, But I think the market still embraced the fact that he was chairman. He still had some hand on the wheel in some way, shape, or form.
He is Steve Jobs. Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I think they've got through the iPhone 5 where, they should be fine. What are they going to produce that's going to be changing? Let's not forget, this is right about the time. This is going to sound eerily familiar. In 1987, there was the number one computer that everybody had to have. Now, granted, it ran floppy disks and played Oregon Trail and Lemonade on it, and the Lemonade Stand, and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. But the number one computer in the world that everybody had was the Apple IIe. All right? That is exactly right around this time that Jobs and Wozniak got in a big fight and split up, as I recall. And then,
are you trying to set some parallel for another crash, another Rocktober?
Is that, they were the market leader, Jobs leaves, and they stopped being the market leader. we're at kind of that same structure. I mean, the 2E was a newer computer. There was the Apple II, the Apple IIe. Right now we're at the iPad 2, right? And we're gonna have an iPad 2e. We're at the iPhone 4S. We're gonna have the iPhone 5. Is Jobs leaving in a much more permanent way? Is this gonna be a turning point for Apple, where they make some of the same mistakes? Now, you may say they don't have somebody arrogant and that does a poor worm like Wozniak running the firm this time.
The man could dance.
I mean, look at what Ballmer has done to Microsoft. Look at what any of these replacement people do. Is Apple going to be a differentiator, or are they going to be a U.S. Steel? Are they going to be or are they just going to go the way of Polaroid, the way of Kodak?
And I think they're getting into the Me Too phase of their existence, where before, they were leading the way with a lot of innovations. These latest rounds of phones they're putting out there, they're showing a lot of copying from Android, which makes sense. Android has some good features they should steal, but still, it's just starting to show that.
And so, my point is that is Apple a buy or is Apple a sell? History says it's a sell.
Well, when did Bill Gates leave Microsoft? What was it, 95 is when he stepped down as the CEO? I'm not sure.
No, he stepped down as CEO later than that, but he left the firm completely, I think. What was it, like 3 years ago or so? Or he's still chairman, obviously, but
he really left the firm. He left the firm. That ship sailed in his real involvement in like 2001. So, I mean, Ballmer's been CEO for almost 10 years, hasn't it? Or almost 15 years,
I don't know if it's been that long, but a significant amount of time, longer than Gates when he did his big grandiose leaving. But yeah, I'm kind of wondering now, at these levels, and you can make an argument for Apple being fairly priced at these levels or so, but I think going forward, the days maybe of these explosive growth and these market changing, I think if there was a chance now, they put out something revolutionary. There's obviously two schools of thought on this. They can put out just enough to get people to buy it again. That certainly works for them. But with other companies coming around now and actually starting to offer compelling products, that wasn't the case a couple of years ago. There was no real competitor to the iPhone. Now there are numerous ones.
That Amazon Fire.
That Amazon Fire is going to really be a thorn in their side going forward. I mean, it's not designed to go after them, but it certainly will. They have the ecosystem to take them on. No one else does but Amazon. So I think those two things combined with the nice Android phones now being relevant and this Amazon being finally having a tablet that can offer a similar content ecosystem, those combined things are going to start chipping away.
It'd be nice to see Ballmer get fired and the Microsoft people put their hat in the ring on something like this that interacts with the personal computer on a different level. Imagine that would be something really cool to see, but they'll just never do it because Ballmer's not an innovator. He's a caretaker.
Why should they innovate? They're a monopoly. That's their thought anyway, I'm sure.
Well, I know, but they need to grow. I mean, PCs will always be around, but not in the respect that not as this cloud. I mean, I guess Microsoft's cloud is pretty powerful. That's my understanding.
Yeah, they do some stuff with Office now in the cloud, and it's getting more, and they're going to start selling that as a service. Instead of buying Office in a box, you pay every year for it, so that's interesting. But aside from that, yeah. And I think that's going to do it for the old trading/tech block today. I think this will probably be maybe our last Apple debate for a while. Of course, who knows, unless some big debates come along.
Unless we have a New Hampshire congressman on again.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for the old trading block. And now we're going to roll right into the odd block.
The odd block.
All right, and welcome to the Odd Block. And listeners, you really should be listening live because there's so much gold here in the interim segments that we have to cut out for legal and other reasons. But this is, of course, the portion of the show where we discuss the interesting and or the unusual options activity that was lighting up the tape today. And quite frankly, there wasn't a heck of a lot of either interesting and or unusual activity today. So we're going to kick things off with mortgage insurer MBIA Inc., ticker symbol MBI. They closed at $8.27 today, up about 40 cents or 5%. Not exactly a 30-cent stock, Sebastian, but it's a little one, so it should get you excited. These guys were trading higher today today, and looks like the options traders agree with that sentiment because the bulls were out in force lifting offers on these calls, primarily near-term upside calls. We saw the OC9s really active today. This is a name that does about 8,000 contracts a day. That did nearly 22,000 today, and a good chunk of those, about 6,000 or so, were in the OC9 calls, with about 80% of those on the offer. But it looks like about 80% of those contracts went up, lifting offers on these OC9 calls. So very near-term bulls, thinking that this MBIA has at least another 5% or so to go before October expiration. This is the name that's had a pretty broad range over the past year. It's ranged from down to a low of about $6 to up to about 15 over the past year. So these guys obviously thinking that it's going to start heading towards the upper bounds of that range again, but it hasn't hit that high level since July of this year. So it's been a while since this stock's been trading north of 9. And there are no events on the calendar, so no analyst meetings or anything else that might bump this stock. Just a lot of bulls flocking in. We also saw activity in the Nova 11s, about 3,000 of those went up today, so some longer-term optimists rolling out to November as well. So some bulls piling in here to good old MBI. Next up, another Sebastian favorite.
Oh, really?
No, it's not Hasbro this time, but it's in a similar genre. It is the Children's Place retail stores, so yet another purveyor of children's goods. And they closed today at $48.71, up about a quarter or about 0.5%. They do about 500 contracts a day, so this is a whopping size name. They did about 2,200 today, and pretty much all of that came in one sizable block of the Nov 55s. Previous open interest on the strike was 20 contracts. We saw 2,000 going up today, being sold by one guy in one block for about 85 cents. So it looks like this is either a sizable covered call player, or this is a guy who's just thinking this stock has not much headroom to go before November. I mean, this is not a sizable trade in and of itself, but in terms of Children's Place, this is a pretty large trade. This is about 4 times their ADV in one trade here. So this is a sizable block of calls going up. And like I said, could be a shareholder looking to get some premium back, or it could be just an outright spec. Either way, not thinking that Children's Place is bursting past the 55 handle anytime soon. Mr. Seabass, you play around in Children's Place, or you, Mr. Navabi?
Well, my kid plays around in Children's Place.
That's true. If you were playing there, you might have some legal questions to answer.
No, I'm telling you, if Gymboree was a publicly traded company, I might buy it because I
might take the other side of that trade. I can't stand Gymboree.
I can't stand it either, but that place is a cult. The way they treat
private. I mean, it went private, right? Just a couple of years ago.
Might have.
Yeah, it was a publicly traded.
Yeah, no, that place develops a cult, and you know, it's. That would be why. It has nothing to do with anything beyond that.
Maybe. I suppose that cult can be both attractive and off-putting. I fall into the latter camp on that one. I went there once and I was just amazed at how awful it was. never ever went back. But yeah.
No, in Children's Place there was one on State Street and it's not there now. It's now a American Apparel, but
that tells you all you need to know about the future there of Children's Place. So is that you, Mr. Tinov? The 2,000 lot of calls? I mean, it's a little small for you these days, but you slinging size out here in Children's Place?
In Children's Place? No, not at all. I have to, no.
All right. And that's going to do it for this extra super duper exciting option block or odd block. There was just not much activity lighting up the tape. We had people sending us in.
Super duper short odd block.
Yeah. We had people writing us in with unusual activity of 500 contracts today. I showed you how light the activity was today. So it wasn't much really lighting up or moving the old needle today. So we're just going to close out the old odd block, and now we're going to roll right into the Express block.
The Express block, brought to you by Options Express. Options Express lets you trade where and when you want for every level of trading. From advanced charting, free daily trading ideas, and free educational resources, Options Express is the online broker for all traders. Best of all, Options Express allows you to trade stocks, options, and futures all in a single account on powerful yet easy-to-use trading platforms, including mobile devices. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio for your free account. Options Express
Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
Regardless of how active you are as a trader or investor, a firm understanding of the inner workings of market volatility is crucial. You are invited to join pro options trader Mark Sebastian and pro futures trader Jeff Quinto for this one-of-a-kind live event on October 21st at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange headquarters. After Jeff discusses how volatility can play into the hand of a futures trader and Mark covers how to use volatility to trade options on futures, together they'll present unique combination strategies using futures and options in tandem. This interactive event will benefit every level of investor, from the novice futures investor to the most active futures and options day trader. Don't miss this rare chance to see two industry experts in one spot. Please go to pricegroup.com to reserve your tickets today. The cost of this all-day event is $895 before October 1st, with $500 off for Price Group customers and new accounts. Again, please go to pricegroup.com to reserve your tickets today.
And welcome to the Express Block. This is the portion of the show that everyone has been waiting for with bated breath. It is indeed the portion of the show where Tim Navabi takes the reins, and we have no idea what will unfold. Vegas odds makers are placing their bets as we speak onto what chaos and madness Tim Navabi will bring to the show and wreak upon us today. So, Mr. Navabi, by all means, have at it, sir.
Thank you very much, Mark. I just wanted to go over a couple things here today. Just kind of want to talk about some of the commodity movers. We missed that from earlier. Copper was a big mover today, up over 5%. Crude oil, 82.56. That's over 3%. Some of the other movers here real quick. Sorry about that. I've got gold was up 11.7, 1653.30. Silver, that was also up over 5%. And not too much on the grains, just kind of even there. And then, as far as what was trading today at Options Express, like I mentioned earlier, today we just were quiet. I mean, it was very, very odd. Really haven't seen this for quite some time. SPY, SPX, Apple, RUTS, Triple Q, Bank of America, GLD, IWM, SDS, and then SLV. But yeah, just a real light day on volume today. And then just wanted to go over those SPX PMs.
Yeah, have you been seeing a lot of interest from your users in that?
A little bit. I had a couple phone calls today on that. I mean, I wanted to go over just a couple volumes, just a couple strikes, and see what was trading here today. John wanted me to mention. He said someone at SIBO told him that there were more contracts traded of the SPX PMs on their first day than the VIX when it had its first day. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
I can see that, because at the time when VIX options launched, the VIX as a brand wasn't what it is today. So it wasn't like it launched out of the gate with a thunderous roar. I mean, SPX has been around for a while. People know what that is now.
I was looking at it. SPX PM. The question is it going to carp SPX volume? The volume itself is not going to be an issue. I mean, if for 2 days to have open interest of over 6,000 contracts, I think it's pretty 6,000 or 7,000 contracts, including 1,000 lot that traded. I think it's pretty impressive. So I'm not worried about the product itself. I'm just interested in whether the net volumes of the two are going to increase. That's how the SIBO shouldn't measure SPX PM if that actually trades. Where the way they should measure whether it's successful is if they see a net increase in volume that is greater than the growth in SPX AM over the next year. That is really how they should measure success of the product.
I hope they would measure it that way. There's not really any other way to really take it. I mean, it's of course going to carp the big product. The question is whether it will lure back the retail that has been siphoned off by SPY and SPY options, and that's one of the real incentives they have for launching this PM electronically executed product. Now you can actually have something that's attractive to those guys who are just averse to the pit for a number of reasons. Of course, you still have the problem with the contract size and everything else, but I can't imagine them looking at any other metric other than if it's additive as a whole or if it's just carping business. If they see a ton of volume in SPX PM and regular SPX goes in the toilet, I can't imagine they'll be trumpeting that as a huge success.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was interested in what you guys had to say about that, and thank you very much.
By the way, Mark, give them a chance. They'll trumpet it either way.
They'll come out with a press release saying SPX PM lighting up the tape, and no mention of SPX.
That's exactly. Interestingly, I was watching the two. I noticed that SPX PM and AM, the offers were almost exactly the same, but the SPX PM bid was much tighter than the SPX AM bid. So what do you think that means, Tim? If you were just evaluating stuff as a trader and you saw what is essentially the same product, and SPX PM and AM, they both have the same offer,
right?
But SPX AM is farther off the bid or has a much lower bid on the screen than SPX PM. What does that tell you? What is the pit trying to do?
The pit's just trying to widen the market. I mean, I don't know. Help me out here.
If I help you out, that'd be cheating.
Well, I think it's a no-brainer. They're going to be tighter in the SPX PM because the barriers to entry of that product are far lower. You can come in and be an electronic market maker in that product and carp market makers all day.
But look at where they're specifically tighter. They're not tighter on the offer, right? They're tighter on the bid. The SPX AM pit is showing what they really want to sell at. They're not showing what they really want to buy for, which means everybody is offered right now. Everybody wants to sell. I mean, stop me, Mark, if you disagree, but having two products and having the one where you have to be a little tighter because the tighter interests have the better bid but have the same offer shows me that the big pit wants to sell.
I don't know, right? Was that universal across this?
Every single strike. Offers were tight. Offers were almost exactly the same. The SPX PM had the much better bid.
Yeah, that is surprising. You'd think that the carping would be universal on both sides of the spread if that was if it was just a barrier to entry question.
Yeah. So to me it says that they're trying to sell. That would be my bet.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I agree with you.
I mean, Mark may disagree. I mean, you could make an argument that means they're trying to buy. It'd be a tough argument, but you could.
Yeah.
You could make it that they're unwilling to budge on their offer, but they would totally lift their bid. That would be the other argument you could make. I don't know why they would both screen the same offer and have a tighter bid on the one product. If they're really trying to buy, they'd be showing their best bid. Trying to buy, the bids would line up and the offers would be way off, right?
That's what I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like a trader. If I really want to sell, I show my offer on the screen. If I don't want to buy, I'm going to show some cruddy bid, So I don't know what it means, but the big pit is trying to sell premium. I'd love to be in that market carping away.
SPX, if any market could use a wee bit of carping, I think SPX is a prime candidate for that.
Carp away, my friend.
Mr. Tinov, we've hijacked your segment with talk of ESPX. Anything else going on at OX you want to discuss?
No, that's about it.
It's a good topic. I would stay on top of that for me if you don't mind. I'd like to see what kind of interest you get from your customer base in the SPX PM. I like calling it ESPX too. I don't know why. But just because I'm curious to see what kind of penetration that has in the active retail segment, if they're actually going to start coming back to the fold or if SPY options own them forever.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right, Mr. Tinov, thank you for that. And now we're going to close out the old Express block and roll right into Around the Block.
Around the Block.
And welcome to Around the Block. This is, of course, the portion of the show where we discuss what's coming up, what is on the trading horizons. And there is pretty much one big thing on the horizon for everyone tomorrow. That is, of course, the old non-farms, Mr. Tinov's favorite day of the week. You coming in early tomorrow, Mr. Tinov?
Yeah, I'll be in early for this one.
That's a perk of the job, eh? You get to come in nice and early?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'll be exciting, I think. I mean, I don't know what to expect, but yeah, today was just dead.
You sound like the lack of activity has just sucked all the vitality out of you. So you think you'd be tired on a busy day and enthused on a slow day. You get to relax, play some Bejeweled on the old computer, relax a little bit. Mr. Seabass, what are you looking at around the block, sir?
I am looking at non-farm payrolls. I know we talked about that. I'll be interested to see what they do. I've given up on trying to guess at what the government's going to come out with.
No flyers this week?
No, I have a feeling that the revised number from last month is not going to be 0. That's going to be my bet. If that's the only bet leg up I'm willing to take. They're going to revise it up or down to some number.
That's bold of you, sir.
Then, yeah, well, President Obama's going to be like, they got to stop calling me the president of 0. So yeah, no, I mean, I think that that's going to be interesting. It looks like they're pushing everything back to Europe. I'm going to say there's going to be some idea that they know what they're going to do in the next few days. It's the way it's lining up to me.
All right, and Mr. Tusaw, what are you watching here around the block, sir?
Gold, silver, and oil.
I'm surprised at all three of those, sir. I never would have expected those coming out of your mouth.
But yeah, as I'm looking at it, gold and silver right now, they're both kind of consolidating. They've both come down quite a bit, but just over the course of the last week or so, they've been in consolidation mode, and definitely checking those out. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if we bounce off of this and it is a level of support, or if it continues to go down further.
Any inklings one way or the other?
Well, I mean, like long term, I'm definitely bullish, but I'll give you my 50% guarantee as per usual. I think we're closer to a support level on it just because of the fact that both of them have come down so much, and we're building up some momentum, I think. So once again, though, that goes with the Tusaw 50% guarantee.
Or as Auntie Mike likes to say, the 48% guarantee, because he calls in the 00. You can't predict the 00.
Yeah, I'm bold. I'll go 50%.
He lives life like a roulette wheel, so you can't hedge that guy. You can't nail him down to 50-50. But Mr. Tinov, what are you watching here around the block, sir? Obviously, non-farms on your horizon, getting in bright and early with some strong coffee tomorrow. What else is on your horizon, sir?
Not too much. I think next week, I mean, we have some good earnings coming up, don't we? I know Alcoa's next week.
Always kicking it off with Alcoa.
Right. Hold on 1 second here. Let me just see. I thought, isn't Apple's earnings coming up within the next few weeks, 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's true. We have Apple on the 18th. So Apple's a couple weeks from now.
I thought there was another big one, though. Yeah, so Google's on the 13th.
There we go. Finally getting some earnings action back in the old game. It's always nice when we have some earnings to talk about aside from things like when will Greece explode or implode and all other things that are pretty much just completely unfathomable to the vast majority of listeners. But earnings people can wrap their head around, and more importantly, they're good sources of vol and price movement, things that us options traders tend to enjoy. So, yeah, looking forward to some diving deep again into earnings season.
Yeah, I think just overall, I mean, October is really the month for volatility. I mean, so it's we're just kind of ready for that every day. I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen somewhere,
Yeah, we haven't seen the full Rocktober effect yet, but the month is young. There are many trading days before the end of the month, and anything can happen. All right, that is going to do it for the Around the Block segment. That's also going to do it for this episode of the Option Block. I want to thank all of my partners in crime for joining me on the old All-Star panel today, and kicking things off with good old Mr. Mark Sebastian. What is coming up over at Option Pit that you want to let our listeners know about?
October 21st at the CME, I'm doing an all-day discussion on futures options. So go to optionpit.com/events to check it out. Aside from that, I'm going to be at the Vegas Expo, and I'm going to be at the FIA on Tuesday doing a live podcast with Mark.
Would you indeed be talking about the long and short of futures options at the CME?
I am going to be talking about the long and short of futures options. Should be exciting.
Very, very exciting indeed. And thank you for that, Mr. Seabass. And now, good old Uncle Mike Tusaw, the man from the mountains, a.k.a. St. Charles, Illinois. What is coming up in the land of KYO, sir?
Well, this weekend we celebrate Columbus Day. So I will be walking the neighborhood singing Columbus Day carols. On Sunday nights, we will not have webinar night in America.
Send me those lyrics. I'd like to learn some Columbus Day carols. It'd be kind of fun. Being Italian, I think I should know a few of those.
Yeah, you'd think. On a serious note, though, Tuesday night after we record the live show, I will be heading back to the office and recording a webinar. We will be doing Plan the Trade, Trade the Plan, just about trading and investing discipline in general. Stop by our website for more information.
Be there or be square, as they say. And good old Tinav, I know we have the live show next week. What else is coming up over at Options Express that our listeners may be intrigued by?
Sure. There's a workshop. It's a free workshop. It's in San Diego. That's on Saturday, October 8th. It's the Saturday. Then, on October 11th, we do have a webinar just on covered calls. IRA Strategies Part 1, covered calls.
Good old IRA strategies. Then you move on to the puts, then you do the nice collars, and then everyone is happy. So that is going to do it for this episode of The Option Block. I want to thank all of my listeners out there for downloading and streaming and subscribing to this show and making it such a success. And please feel free to join us next week at the big old live show at the FIA Expo in the Chicago Hilton here on South Michigan Avenue. Be there or be square. Check out the website, theoptionsinsider.com, or surf on over to volex.us. Either one of those will take you to a link where you can get free exhibit hall passes. You can come on down, see the show, have some tasty beverages, some free food, get some tchotchkes, the whole 9 yards. It's a pretty fun show from a vendor hall perspective. And, of course, you get to see Uncle Mike Tusaw and all the rest of the all-star panel there live and in person. If you ask nicely, Uncle Mike may even sign your chest.
Okay.
I was waiting for some sort of...
I don't know what to say to that one.
I was debating what body part to throw out there, and I thought I would pull a Sebastian and go blue. See what reaction I can get from you, sir. But okay, with that lovely image in mind, be sure to join us next week right here on the old Option Block.
Become a part of the Option Block. Just visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/forum to post a question for the hosts. You can also submit questions to twitter.com/optionblock or leave a voicemail at 312-544-9356. Make it interesting and your question just might make it on the air. The Options Block is property of the Options Insider Incorporated. All rights reserved. The preceding program was a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/radio or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.